I'm losing light. As Wayne would say, I'm burning daylight. Winter's coming. It's September here in Tahoe. You guys might not get too much snow in Arizona, but we had almost 70 feet last year in this region. And I'll tell you a story that I haven't really told anybody, and it relates to the curse. Curse of the superstitions. Say what you want about curses. I think we were filming episode 2 or 3. We were out in Fish Creek. I told you there would be more beer. We were up on a bluff. We were camped out. It was a campfire scene, I guess you'd call it. It was the night that some crazy asshole started shooting, and we had to beat feet out of Fish Creek, get to safety. Now, as we were sitting there around the campfire, getting ready to pack in for the night and kind of settle in, we had a little bit of time, some downtime, and I think Augustine was making some of his famous beans. And we were all sitting around swapping stories. And in the distance, in the darkness, I heard an owl just start hooting. It was really cool, because you don't hear a lot of owls. I remember mentioning it to Wayne. I said, man, that's really cool. Do you hear that owl? I love hearing owls. And Wayne said, you know what that signifies, don't you? I'm like, no. Thinking he's going to say luck or something. Oh, we're on our way to the Dutchman. Wayne says, well, it signifies impending death. Well, of all the stories we've swapped about the curse and how it affected everyone, when I got home from filming the show, and the show had aired, my dog got really sick. He caught a disease. It was about a 1 out of 50,000 called IMHA. I got him the rabies vaccine. The vet told me I was playing Russian roulette, not having him get that vaccine. 2 months later, he was dead. $5,000 out of my pocket. Pretty much every dime I made filming that show. Thinking, wow, I got all this money coming in, and we're getting paid, and we're going to find the Lost Dutchman gold mine. And here I am forking over $5,000. And I lost my best friend. I never told anybody that story, but I'll never forget it. And Wayne probably wouldn't relate it to the same thing. He might remember saying it, he might not, but nobody's ever told me that about what hearing an owl signifies. You can relate it to the curse, you don't have to, but to me, something happened to everybody. Every one of us. So, whether it was health, losing a best friend, my little brew dog, or money, or whatever it was, none of us made out too well filming that show. Would I do it all again? Absolutely, because what do I have to lose at this point? But maybe the curse is real.
So now we're making a return to Fish Creek, and joining us is my youngest son, Tyler, which is probably an important addition to the team. It gives us an extra set of eyes, so now we have 4 sets of eyes. We have 4 pairs of ears. He's definitely the quiet one of the bunch, and he kind of likes to hang back and observe, so it gives us someone good to kind of maybe catch things we're missing. It also adds us another member of the team to carry supplies in and out. Having the two younger guys working with myself and Frank right now puts us in a much better position and allows us to transition from base camp to base camp back in the mountains. But very happy to have both boys. And, you know, you're always looking for people you can just lean on, you can rely on, you can put your trust in. You know what to expect of them and what you're going to get out of them. And having both my boys out there in the mountains with me, I couldn't ask for a better situation right now, and the experience that Frank brings into with us. But and for the first time in quite a while, in a couple of years now, there's 4 of us going back into the mountains. So again, another important fact. Also, it's great to have Frank back out in Fish Creek with me. The temperatures kind of got up there. He was busy doing some pieces of research and taking it a bit easy. He had a couple other concerns and some things to deal with. So getting Frank back on board at all, I mean, I did love the experience of being back in the mountains by myself. There's always a lot to learn. I probably pull so much individually by myself in the mountains, more so than with other people, because all my concentration, everything is just focused the entire time. But having Frank back to be able to share and then take a second look at things, and again, having 4 people means we can split the group if we need to. 2 of us can go high, 2 of us can stay low. It just adds so much to the team, something we haven't had for quite some time. So it's good to have Frank back out here with me, and the weather's cooling off a bit, just a touch. Not cool weather yet, but having the boys with us, and the fact that I'm out there with 3 people that I believe I can rely on and trust in is an important factor.
Laying down over here.
Well, that's 1 beer gone, but there's plenty more. So if I could say one good thing about Frank Augustine, wait, that's not right. Augustine. Frank Augustine. If I could say one good thing about Frank Augustine, it's not that he's good at remembering names, because he still doesn't know my last name, Deleel. Frank, it's Deleel. Eric Deleel. You can just call me Deal. Anyway, if I can say one good thing about Frank, you know, that guy, he's tenacious. And his detective work in the past really helped us out on trying to locate where the Lost Dutchman Mine might be. He was a Peralta Stone guy. He's a stoner. Now, you know, that's kind of hard to believe with his police background. But I'll tell you, stoners are not what you think. Stoners are people who believe in the stone maps, the Peralta stones. Now, Frank really believed in those. Wayne, on the other hand, he's a Dutch hunter. There is a difference. If I can say one good thing about Frank, the guy is so tenacious. Everything he says, I don't care how crazy it sounds, he'll make you believe. And he'll basically have you follow him because you believe what he's saying because he believes it. When he led us to the Heartstone, we believe that there was something really there. Now, Woody Wampler, he's been back. He thinks he found a pretty rich silver mine in there, and I believe they pulled some gold out of that area too. Without Frank believing that the Peralta stones were real, which many people don't believe, we never would have been to the Heartstone, and those guys would have never found what they believe to be a rich silver mine. I know there's been a lot of gold that's come out of that area where the Heartstone is. I've seen some of it, and it is rich, and it is buttery yellow gold. It's the stuff miners dream about when they go to bed at night, and Dutch hunters dream about, and stoners believe about. Frank, I respect you for that.
Definitely coming back in the mountains now. We got so many things we're looking for, and there's literally becoming a checklist. We have the Bob Ward map, and concerning the Silver Ledge, and the things like the spring, the cave, and we've identified a number of things. One of the things we'll be looking at is up on the south side of the canyon, along the creek. There was a kind of an anomaly, and it looked like an area that had been carved out of rock. And I'd observed it from the Horse Mesa side when I was elevated. So definitely a point of interest. Now, Ward talks of an area he refers to as a shrine, but he just uses vertical, like squiggly lines. There's no real true definition of what we would be looking for. So we're not sure what this thing could be and if it could fit into this as a possible shrine or something. So seeing if this thing is man-made would be really important to us, getting a close look at it. But besides the Bob Ward stuff, then we have the Ted DeGrazia paintings. And it is in the area on the map that he has boxed. So we're still in that area. So we have to always keep our mindset of, is there something to this story? Some people dispute it and say DeGrazia claimed to have never done any such thing. But then on the other side, we don't know. So we can't just discount it. We have to take that. Ward put 3 maps into effect and a number of directions that these sketches or paintings are buried back there. We have additionally the Gonzalez story. We have a gentleman by the name of Gonzalez from his great-grandfather. We thought he was back prospecting in the mountains and working through the area. Then we find out he actually was searching for a treasure or something concerning a treasure through the family. And we were able to do interviews and research. So we have that adding into the same similar area. We know he was in this area. Add in people like Frank Horban and John Tuning that we know prospected in this area and had camps. So we just keep stacking not just more and more information to one story, but multiple stories in the same vicinity and area. And we cannot forget, Bob Schuss brought us in here on alignment of the maps, saying the massacre occurred along the Salt River, that we have Jim Bark and Sims Ely's stories that the mules from that massacre were taken up on Horse Mesa, and they found physical evidence. We have so many stories that just tie into this area from them. Tuning even worked along the Salt River in this area with Jim Bark as a partner. So we just keep adding more and more and more information. And I'm just keep our eyes out, because every time we come in here, there's another little thing we seem to dig up. And it will be interesting on this trip, making several forays from base camp of seeing what we come up with and what we leave the mountains with in information this time.
As far as why I'd want to go back into the Superstitions and hunt for the Lost Dutchman gold mine again, it's pretty simple. Why not? You know, there's almost something that calls you back about the Superstition Mountains. And, I mean, I live in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and there's something magical about these mountains here in California. I've had many a night spent camping on the river. You wake up in the morning, you know, the fog's coming off the river, and you could pretty much squint your eyes and see the old timers out there working that were, you know, 1849, 1850s, you know, just trying to strike it rich. And I felt the same way in the Superstition Mountains. You know, when we'd camp, when we'd hike, you know, you could almost squint your eyes and, you know, you'd think you'd see the image of Jacob Waltz with his horses and his pack, you know, coming back or going to the mine, going to the Lost Dutchman gold mine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, down through there.
You know, but it's more than that. It's the camaraderie. You know, the adventure that I shared with Magnuson, Woody, Frank, Wayne, and a cast of other characters, including Bob Schuss. Meeting those guys was like stepping back in time, and it's something that we in our modern society have gotten away from. The thrill of the hunt, the adventure, all of that. It's gone to the wayside with technology and smartphones, and yeah, that's great to have, but there's something to be said about putting 2 feet on the ground and going out where you have a better chance of seeing a mountain lion or a bear than seeing a human being. That, to me, is adventure. That is what life is all about. The thrill of the hunt, getting out there, and chasing a dream. That's what I've always been about. And that's why I was perfect to head down to Arizona and search for the Lost Dutchman gold mine. That's why I do it again in a heartbeat.
To any of you?
It's Wayne's hole.
Wayne's hole. The hole.
You checked the holes up higher.
No, I just checked this one.
We gotta look up there. We hit something there.
Go ahead, climb.
So how far deep is that hole?
You can get up and look at it. Turn on the light on the camera.
I don't think I can.
A couple feet. Kicks a little to the. Kicks a little bit to the right. Could do. Yeah, this one just has that accessible worn spot that's different than any other hole around
Yeah,
here.
but those up there are higher.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this one has that accessible. You were sitting in camp.
I don't know if I can reach
That'd be a perfect spot to shove stuff in. And it, wouldn't you? It catches you more than any other hole. And whatever it was, I was looking around and I just said, I wonder if anybody ever looked back in that hole.
If you look at it, it's also like the most.
And I
circular,
stuck the stick in. I could hear.
stand out.
I could hear like leaves and stuff. And then,
Like the other hole.
but why would you climb up
Well,
to
if you
put?
stay something that one, you might stay something there.
I climbed up here and kind of gave a look, but no, I didn't go through any holes. That's what Trevor's for, to look in the holes. And if they're coming in here and they were all up on my left, sitting up here.
You want to hop up there and look in, Tyler? You want to? Come on. Do it.
Let's go, come on.
No, we're not.
We got 2-3 caves to check out, Frank wants to hand.
There's water,
There'll be water in that.
hopefully.
No, that one has water. Mountains. Yeah, Frank, and I went up in there. I climbed up and checked that little spot out. Do not film me saying this.
Saying what?
See the arrow?
Oh. Just cut it out. I was already filming, so
Don't put it in the show.
I'll cut it out. Don't worry.
Don't put it in the
I think Tyler's falling behind again.
I'll see him. Give him a few minutes. I don't want to get too far where we cut one and then he doesn't see us at all. I don't even hear him.
I hear him.
He's right there. He moves pretty quiet. course, when you travel at about a quarter mile per hour, you can be very light.
Yeah.
Other cave is up along here, so. Ow! Damn! That one got me.
The pieces that just stick in your arm?
Yeah. Just grabbed onto me.
See, this is why.
Did you get it too?
It didn't stick in me, but it poked me.
This is why you walk behind Wayne, because everything he fucks up on. And you don't like to say mistake.
Watch out for this right here, Tyler. It'll try and stick to you.
One of the things that has me very curious getting back in these mountains is the indigenous people. We found no petroglyphs, no pottery, no artifacts of any sort, but we found these grinding holes. And I've queried a number of different people because the grinding holes appear to be something of an indigenous people. Say it could be the Salado, the Ho'okum, the Pima. I don't know if the Apache were always seen as food gatherers in that sense. But they just don't seem quite right. There's something about them just does not seem quite right, like they're grinding holes like I would normally see. And then we look in the area, and while there are a couple smaller, shallower caves, the creek would flood, and especially like in our sense, one of the reasons we come in and out and we work higher ground and then work during the day down in the canyon is it would not be an area for a settlement. The canyon floods, and it's obvious by just looking at the debris, the trees that have been uprooted in there. So it's not an area to have a stable living community of any sort. So it has me very curious, and I expected to see, even if it was ceremonial or something in some sort, to see petroglyphs. And we found no markings of any sort really at this time. And I'm always keeping my eye out for that. Added to that is getting back in here is the wildlife. While we've seen a little bit of wildlife, primarily squirrels, there's been an absence a bit of bighorn sheep, and we've seen no deer. Well, I did see bighorn sheep actually quite plentiful before. Tracks have been primarily coyotes. But even the snakes, other than the one snake I saw in the cave that was actually sleeping in a cool morning, we've run across no snakes in the canyon. And we're talking almost 1.5 to 2 years of trips back in this area and working our way up and down the canyons. It just seems a very odd and unusual thing. There's plenty of birds, but it could be a food supply situation. There is plenty of water. There's plenty of vegetation, but yeah, we're just not seeing some of the normal things we'd particularly find in other areas. Some game and this and that, but we have water sources, so it seems distinctively very different than what I would normally do. And let me add, on top of all this, as we're going back in here, is it appears the Horse Mesa side has all types of different combinations of mineralization with the quartz and the copper and the iron, and we're not finding anything valuable resources out of it. But then we work our way onto the other side of the creek, and it appears almost devoid of anything. We're not coming up with even quartz in most areas. So it's just been like you're just standing right there in the center of something, and they're just two complete different areas, literally 40, 50 feet across. You got to find that interesting, if nothing else.
Actually, if you work around this way, there's a way to climb up that way and work across the ledge below it.
If you went up along here.
It's sinking. Careful.
opening there.
Oh yeah, it does. I
A
think.
little bit. You got water that runs down off there. Where it's all black.
Yeah, that almost looks like machete work when we go back there. You ever see the coati out here? Right? You ever see the coati out here?
No.
Don't see him. Usually see him like at night. Used to see him out like that in the spring park or so. So here's the other part. Hear that?
Hear what?
Something from the canyon that way. Couldn't hear what it was. Rumbling something. Wall of reeds. Where's he at?
I can see him from here. He just waved at me. He's kind of just standing there. Tyler, come on! Hurry up.
down.
All right.
Finally found some water.
Yeah, I've told that to you before. Kind of weird, ain't it? I think it was in the last episode too, wasn't it, Trevor?
What, that rock up there?
Yeah, I tried to get a zoom in on it. Didn't do a good job.
Well, now we have a good job. I will zoom in on it. That flat one, right?
What?
Yeah, because I recognize it. Yeah, the one I recognize.
Yeah.
Said it was like a foundation. Or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Snake.
What?
Smell him. He's over here somewhere.
Snake?
Yep.
Huh?
Smell him?
No.
Yeah, I don't smell it so much when I come this way.
So he's over in here. That means hurry up, Tyler. There's a snake in there.
Oh, here's your pipe, Frank.
Oh.
Hold it. What's that? There it is. Cement-filled pipe. Check that out. You can see where you had it bolted in up there, can't you? That would, Frank, to run a zip line and run these poles down, you realize how much effort that took?
Yeah. For carrying a cement-filled pipe up that hill.
What's your take on this, Tyler? The pipe. Okay, nice feedback.
All these alcoves and ledges. That's where I was last time.
Right.
It's all dried up. Well, other than in there.
Be careful here now.
Why?
It's a good place for a snake.
What?
I told him to be careful. This is a good place for a snake.
Yeah, I hope so.
I don't want you to be firing it off when I'm freaking standing there next to it under this and my freaking ears are getting blown. Where's Tyler?
He's back in there, I think, still.
I'm going to try this, Trevor.
The trap?
Don't walk up on here yet. No person. One person. See where he came out of? It's the guy we just crossed paths with. But look at all the animals. Coming down from there, coming down in here to drink.
I can hear him over there. He's around the corner.
Hey, look at the little toad.
Little toad?
So now that we're back deeper into the canyons and so forth, and with the boys and pulling and bringing the equipment in, one of the things that's important to us is making several different trips to a number of different targeted sites. So I'm going to try to keep the group together on most of these, but may not always be able to do so. We may work a high elevated team and a lower elevated team working through or across the canyon, but I definitely want to keep us together. One of the big pains I have is trying to bring back video or photographs and then try to explain what I was seeing or exactly what I was. It's better just to have us all grouped there at the same time, filming, and everybody being able to look and sample and see what we got. I know we were disappointed with some of the it wasn't the sampling, because there was gold, there was some silver, there was mineral, but it was the amount, and we're just not finding what we thought we would find. But we have these stories, so we have just enough to keep going, and we do want to make sure we work this thing. If we have to, work it dry as possible. But from here on in, definitely staging out. There's a lot to do in here, and you got to keep your fingers crossed. I mean, I always hate to be the one. I'm not the one big on faith. I'm more based on fact. But I think in this aspect, we got to have a little bit of faith that we're going to have to come up with something. The odds have to be with us at this point, that we're going to find something really interesting here in the next couple of days.
Some water?
Good.
You have shade. You know this has got to be stayed this temperature all day. It's got to be staying cool in here.
It's nice in here.
You got a breeze always coming through the canyon. Now, I hate to be in here in a rainstorm, but
Well, wouldn't most of this probably fill up out there at some point?
Yeah, but there's enough debris that it's pushed up. Well, we've been here when the water's been all the way to the top of this.
Yeah.
So, but it does tell us this. You can be out here in September after a dry part of summer. There's been no rain and there's still water.
Yeah. Not a lot, but
I wonder what good shit.
I guess it's lower than back there.
Oh, yeah.
So what are these little
No thank you, Frank.
pokes?
I will refrain from that.
So, I guess I can kind of figure out what those might be. Do you want to explain what we're doing?
Well, Frank had an interest because there's a water source here. What we'd like to do is do some samples and some panning down in here, if you can find some black sand, something in the area. One of the things, it would be a great idea if someone, is always going to suggest to bring equipment back in here and using this water supply, which is actually pretty low right now, but it's sustainable, obviously. But everything in this canyon's using this as obviously a water source. So we don't want to eliminate this water source or tamper with it, do anything that would create a nuisance or problem. So doing some panning here, that's fine. But doing any type of major operation, you're going to reduce the water supply and negatively affect the wildlife. And that's what you hope nobody ever does, because you don't want to negatively affect the environment and the wildlife in the area just to get a little gold, do you, Frank?
Hell yeah, for his gold. Piss on the wildlife. Just kidding, of course.
We will be burying Frank here shortly in the name of the earth.
This is where we're going to sprinkle Wayne's ashes after he gets done smoking all those cigarettes. This is where he wants
And
to
wash
go.
away.
I tell you what, we'll put you in that hole where you find that watch.
Okay, there you go. Put me in the hole.
you say that was?
I was jokingly referring to it as the praying monk.
Praying monk.
Yeah, he's praying. He's bowing to the east. I hope that doesn't stick, because that's kind of a crappy name, but you never know what sticks out here. Must be someone else coming.
There's 3? Where's the third one?
Well, I said there must be another one coming.
And Tyler said he saw the third one. Probably not going to be able to really see him. Can kind of see him.
It's your video, and I'm going to quit and take some pictures of it.
He's getting ready to jump. Or walk. Yep, there you go. They're off.
It is only the 2. I thought there would be a third one. I just kept looking back.
Tyler said there is a third one. There are 3. There's one in the back, there's
I
one in the
see 'em.
shade, and then
I
there's
see
one
'em.
in the front. Yeah,
Oh, dude.
they're all lined up.
Tyler,
Where
good.
they at?
See that end? You got the little black drip, and then the green. Then you'll see the first one, second, and the third one. For the big saguaro, just before the big saguaro is the first one.
They're all kind of lined up with
We're
about,
in a line, sitting
couple-
right there looking at us because we're talking.
they got maybe 4 feet in between each of them.
They
4 or
hear
5 feet.
us.
Yeah.
First one. He just walked to the right of it, right down at the base of it. You're looking the wrong direction, Frank.
No.
Straight in front of you, directly in front of you. Directly in front of you, there's a saguaro. See it up on the green ledge?
Okay.
And there's a bighorn to the right of it. There's one to the left of it down the hill, and there's a third one even further down to the left. And they're all just sitting